Hello, girls. I know you're very, very busy. 20 specs to design and decorate. And today we're going to talk about designing for all, or aging in place. And it's a very important subject for many, many people. And I know you guys have to think about it on the design and decorating side as well, right?
Absolutely. Everything from shower heads to hard surface flooring to door handles. A lot of it takes place when we're doing the design up front and what we're thinking the end result might be for somebody living in that home.
And things like wider hallways, wider doorways, which we find everyone seems to like that. And it's great because I might not need it now, but I might have a relative visit or an injury. So we all really do need this design.
And you know, I'm a baby boomer, and I have read that 80% of us expect to age in place in our current home. So we're really thinking about this subject today.
Yeah, and Lonnie, I'm living proof that it's not just for, people a little older in age. When I was in my early 20s, I ruptured a disc in my back, and I've had to live with that, for the last 10 years. For me, it's all about the ergonomics, not having to bend over as far to brush my teeth or pull the laundry out of the washer machine, or just even the toilet, having a little taller toilet. It helps. Just all those little things help me live through the day.
It is the little things that happen, even sinks and faucets, where you can just pull this down so you can get a little easier access to everything, can truly make your life a lot easier depending on what you're going through.
Yeah, staying in the kitchen, I still feel a little traumatized from our last show about this when I was trying to open up the microwave and things were falling out on me. So I'm still a big proponent of putting that microwave somewhere else where it's a little bit easier to access.
Yeah, as you mentioned that last show we did about this topic, I got to spend the day in a wheelchair and trying to navigate through a walker, and I can really empathize with people now that are in that situation. So we really want to design the home that meets their needs specifically.
Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about the small things that matter about aging in place. We've done 2 shows already on this, but we're going to take this to a level that no one's ever seen. So stay tuned. We got to get started. You're going to not want to miss this show. All right, let's go. Hey, you want to use the elevator?
Yeah, let's use the elevator.
This is ergonomically great. This is
Okay, I'll let you hit the button.
Like that.
Welcome to Between the Studs. We are Granite Ridge Builders, custom builders serving northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and also parts of southern Michigan. We have been building custom homes for almost 2 decades, and we're really passionate about what we do. So join us today as we explore the processes, the trends, and also tips that characterize today's new home. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back. Today's subject is going to be aging in place. Now, you've heard a lot of terms like handicap accessible, designing for all, barrier free, invisibility. Well, we're going to take the word aging in place and define it like you've never heard before. So is there any statistics about this subject?
Yeah, I've got a couple of good ones. The first one is that as recent as the 1940s, Americans are on average living about 7 years longer, which is why aging in place is more important today than ever.
Also, it's estimated that 21% of all Americans suffer from a short-term or a long-term disability. So again, a very important subject to discuss.
And when we're talking a lot about the ADA compliancy and the handicap accessible and the visitability and everything, most people are thinking age people 40, 50, 60 and up. Really, 1 in 7 children have some kind of a disability. So we need to start talking about this for people as young as the age of 5.
Yeah, and we can't have this show without talking about the bathroom. 80% of accidents in the house happen in the bathroom. And so talking about, you'd mentioned invisible things. They have grab bars now that look like toilet paper holders, towel holders, you can't even tell, or having, curbless showers walking right in, because most of those accidents happen when you're getting out of the shower.
And 76% of people said they'd rather age in place, and part of that reason is because of the expense that's associated. Only $50,000 a year would be the price associated with aging in place at home versus $100,000 in a nursing center.
Wow. So we can hopefully show you some of these things that might save that money. So subject-wise, what are you guys going to talk about today?
Yeah, I think one of the most important topics is the flooring. What type of material, where you place it, trying to avoid slips and falls, that's a big one.
And I think one of the places we're at the most in the home is the kitchen. So talking about the height for countertops or the types of countertops and cabinets that you have, and especially appliances, are a lot of big topics to think about.
I'm going to the bathrooms. I said I'm going to the bathroom.
I think colors are a big thing, and where rooms come together and the color differentials that you can do for this.
And I know Lonnie said bathrooms, but we're talking your plumbing fixtures, your faucets, your showers, your thresholds, all of that in the bathroom.
I want to talk about lighting in all kinds of areas of the home that can make a huge difference.
And what I want to talk about is none of that matters if we don't have accessibility to the house. So from the outside in, what considerations we need to take.
Well, stay tuned. I do not think you're going to want to miss this. I think you're going to find this fascinating. All right, let's find our stations.
Yeah, the bathroom.
You better go to the
way.
bathroom.
Where are we
The bathroom's
going?
that way.
I'm
Do
walking
you need
away.
this or did I need this?
Oh.
Which one are we going for here?
Well, when talking about design for all or aging in place, appliances are very important. And we have a few examples here of why it is so important. So Tony is here at the stove. Imagine he's a 7-year-old little boy, and you can see this is kind of your typical range. So your buttons are in the back.
Right.
Now this is very dangerous when it comes to aging in place or design for all. Give us an example why.
I'm reaching back here for this, and my arm is going right over top of where this burner is. If this was a gas burner, I could actually be catching my clothes on fire when I have that.
And also, I should point out in this particular model, some of the buttons aren't that user-friendly.
No.
So when we talk about aging in place, you know, you don't want it to be more than 5 pounds of pressure that you have to put on that. This is a little bit hard to read and it would take a little more pressure. Now, the oven itself here is also a little bit difficult for the design for all or aging in place.
That's right. There's a lot of different things that are changing with this oven because when you have all these controls on the back, now we're moving a lot of them to the front area. So you're not reaching over those burners when you're trying to do anything. The oven door here, this is not necessarily an easy thing to open up. What did they say? 5 pounds is
5
what they
pounds,
need to have
and
that
that's
on?
pretty heavy.
So now what some are doing is they're taking this door and they're turning it into more of a French door, almost like the refrigerators where they swing from side to side. Now the door's not going out nearly as far because it's actually being cut in half.
And a lot of these are wall units, so it's at a better height. It's not too high, not too low, so it's easier to reach. Now this kitchen is one good example of a good work triangle. So another thing to think about is the location of your appliances. You don't want them too far apart. This is very accessible to get from one to the other. The microwave is an important consideration, and there's a lot of ways you can do your microwave. Now here we have it on a shelf and you see it a lot of times above the range, but that's not ideal when it comes to design for all.
When you're talking about the design for all, you gave me an interesting stat earlier about the measurements that you really want all of the different appliances at. What was that?
Yeah, you really want your reach 15 inches to 48 inches, so it's not too far to reach.
So when you have a microwave like this is up there a little bit, and this is like Izzy had the problem in the last show where everything fell out on top of him.
You're correct. Now the refrigerator, that's probably one of the more important items in your kitchen. And one nice thing that you can have is your water and ice in the door. So it's very accessible to everyone, from the small child to the older person.
Now, when they're putting the freezer on the bottom, is that helping more with that when it comes to the accessibility of it all over the top, or is it the side that's better?
It does help because it's lower and you can reach in there, and then to have the French door up high, because one important thing is you want to be able to use your appliance with one hand.
That's right.
So the French door is very easy to open and close.
Now, we also see different changes going on with dishwashers, where we have the different shelves in the dishwashers being able to be raised and lower as well.
So when designing your kitchen, consider raising some of your appliances like your dishwasher. The washer and dryer are really important. A front load washer and dryer, and raising those a little so they're easier to get into. And then of course there's the counterscaping we've talked about before. Think about those items on your counter like your mixer, your coffee machine, making those more accessible, whether you build them into a cabinet that the shelf will raise up or having them accessible on your countertop.
This is a big thing with working with Granite Ridge Builders. We're going to take the time and we're going to talk to you about how you live. We're going to talk about the different appliances you have on your countertops. We're going to talk about the people that are going to be living in your home. We want to make this home that you're going to be going perfect for you and accessible for everyone who's in your family. So if you have a question, do us a favor, just come on in. We'll be more than happy to help you out.
So Kayla, there's been a small debate in our office as we're talking about design for all. Which room or which feature is the most important? I think we're going to talk about one that matters the most, and that's the kitchen.
Absolutely. The kitchen is one of those where you want to have the benefits of universal design and design for all, but you want the invisibility of it. And that's why the kitchen is so important, to really make all of those items pop and be absolutely wonderful.
So before we get into some of the specific parts and pieces and details, I think the first place to start is with the kitchen layout.
Yes. So layout is a big topic to talk about because especially with the designs that we're doing now, a lot of islands are in these homes, and you want to make sure that there's plenty of space between your cabinet perimeter and and your island, enough room to maneuver, get your appliance doors down, but you also want enough room between your bar stool and your great room. So that's a really important thing to think about.
And Kayla, oftentimes people think to achieve this universal design, you have to do open concept with an island. You can achieve this with a more traditional U-shaped kitchen as well.
Absolutely.
So we can incorporate this design into any style that fits your needs. So let's dive in now and talk about some of the specific materials, and I think we should start with countertops.
Countertops are really important, and when we're talking about this design, it's something to think about when you want no maintenance, and a lot of things with countertops. When we're talking quartz countertops is a really one that we go to a lot because there's no bacteria, it's non-porous, it's something that's usually commercial rated as well, and so that's a very big go-to. But the countertop edge style is going to be very important to think about. You don't want something with sharp corners and edges or something really rough, so these nice rounded edges are really what you're looking for.
So once we move past the right countertop that's perfect for our clients, let's talk about the cabinetry, because making it really accessible is the key to this.
Now this is where we can have a lot of fun, is with the cabinet features. So we have so many different options out there for just about any sort of design. And when we're talking about features that a lot of people want to go with, we're looking at drawers instead of doors. That one motion, a lot of times what was popular was a rollout shelf in their base cabinets, but now we're just going with wide, extra large drawers because it's one solid motion. Another feature that we really want to talk about is kitchen corners. What are you going to do there? Are you going to have a lazy Susan that goes around, or are you going to have just a big open cabinet or a dead corner? Again, there's not all a one right scenario for each case. There can be, you know, I might want this scenario because it works better for me, and so that's something to really take into consideration. The other one to think about is open shelving, which is very popular right now, so it's great that it fits the style, but again, it's so much easier to just reach up and grab those items instead of opening doors as well.
Yeah, and I think what's nice about a lot of these features is these are really popular trends just in design in general, so
Yes.
it's not going to make your kitchen feel like it's built for accessibility. It's going to look great too and meet all your needs, right?
Absolutely.
So once we talked about those items, I think the color contrast comes into play as well, correct?
It does. So color is very important. We really want to be able to see all of the items separate from each other. So having a dark cabinet color with a light countertop, or vice versa, it makes it so you can see where all those items are a little bit easier, or the countertop being different than your appliance color. It makes it, if you're having a little bit of trouble with visibility, you can see those items and it draws you towards those a little bit easier instead of it all being the same color.
And I think lastly, the one that's really important too is the sinks and the faucets and making those easy to use, correct?
Absolutely. So when we're talking about sinks and faucets, we're also talking about counter heights too. So a lot of times what we'll do, depending again on the case, some people might want their sinks raised because they have back problems, but if somebody is in a wheelchair, they might want it lowered so it's easier to access. When you're talking about ADA, we're looking at sinks that have a shorter depth to them, and then that they're a little bit lower to the ground. And so countertop and sink choices are huge when we're talking about whatever your preference is and whatever we're building those needs for. Faucet choices are just as big if you want a single handle or double. Again, a lot of people have different preferences, and it's just a matter of what works for you.
Even talking about little details like switches, maybe even how you're going to turn on your garbage disposal with an air pressure switch. So many fine details to talk about, and that's why you have to come see us at Granite Ridge. We know this better than anyone. We can't wait to help you incorporate these features in your new home.
Isn't it great? We have the outlets that pop out, and then you can do those. It's so awesome.
So Luke, when you talk about designing for all or aging in place, you have to think about things outside the home, don't you? Getting into the home, getting out of the home.
Yeah, and that's really where it all starts. And you know, it takes a lot of coordination and preparation to make sure that we're getting that right.
Let's talk about a few of those components. So Luke, what length do we have here?
We're right at 12 foot, Lonnie.
So are we in compliance?
We are in compliance with the ADA code because we went up 1 foot. And so went up 1 foot, 12 feet out, it's 1:12 ratio.
So what we have here is a ramp inside our office, and we do have to take into consideration measurements, just like on steps, like the treads and the risers going up and down stairs.
Right, yep, we have certain codes that we have to apply by that, like 10, 7 3/4. This is that 1 and 12 what I mentioned. So every inch you go up, you got to go a foot out. Or in this case, we went up 1 foot, so we had to go 12 foot out, which you have to take into consideration as you're coming up to these homes. And that's what I think we want to talk about, is a lot of the stuff on the outside of the house.
Right. Even things like sidewalks. Today we've gone to wider sidewalks, I think, so that they're wheelchair passable. 2 people could pass on the sidewalk comfortably.
Yeah, in subdivisions, but then also on the single families. And like subdivisions, you'll see a lot of those blister mats, and that allows somebody in a wheelchair to get out onto the road, cross the street, and then get back up onto the next sidewalk.
Okay, and then there's also slope considerations when it comes to sidewalks. They can only slope maybe 1% going from one way to the other, and then 2% I think as far as the length goes.
Oh, correct.
So-
Now moving off from the sidewalks, let's go back to the driveways. It's
Okay.
important to think about when you're a driveway, making sure that you have plenty of room to get out of that car without having to step onto
That's
the grass.
a big problem. And I know a lot of times we'll go to 18 or even 20 feet wide on the driveways
Correct.
to allow yourself to get out of the car. And it's the same inside the garage,
It
isn't
is.
it?
Yeah, sometimes people don't take that into consideration. I know, I have a big truck, and if I park it the wrong way in my garage, then I got to go out the passenger seat because that will hit the wall. So thinking of those things ahead of time.
Yeah, more and more of our customers are thinking about getting in the house, getting inside the house, going outside the house, and even things like patios come into play.
Yeah, patios or front porches, and a lot of times maybe we don't do a ramp, but maybe some people have trouble navigating a 7-inch step. We can reduce that to maybe a 2 or maybe an 1.5 inch by simply putting, like the back patio up on footers, so it
Right,
doesn't
so-
float. If it floats, we have to drop it.
Drop it
because,
down, okay.
Expansion of that dirt's going to move that a little bit. But if we put it on footers, we can put it right up against that door, making a nice smooth transition out to that patio.
Yeah, a lot of these things don't cost all that much. Things like motion lights, sensitive motion lights, for example, are a very good idea when it comes to aging in place and thinking about these things.
Yeah, that's a great one. Coming out of the house or walking up to the house in the dark can be tedious sometimes, or a little nerve-wracking. But those lights pop on, you can see your path. It's clear.
And putting more and more lights on the outside or preparing for those is another good idea, isn't it?
Yeah. Another thing with the front door, we have a Ring doorbell as an option. That's something where you can go up, you can ring the doorbell, and the people inside can see on their phone while they're sitting on the couch who's at the door. Or a simpler way is maybe a side light or a full glass door. Somebody maybe that is wheelchair bound can go up and they can see who's on the outside.
So when we sit down with a customer today, especially, a lot of them are very sensitive about these kind of issues. And we're going to talk through the outside of the house, getting in the house, going out of the house. People are going to visit the house is another consideration.
Yep.
Just a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, and one of the things that we really do at Granite Ridge is when people have those considerations, we meet out on the site way ahead of time before we break ground and make sure we understand what differences of heights that we're going to have to be dealing with, and make sure we try to limit that as much as possible.
We've just touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this subject. There's a lot to talk about. Come on into Granite Ridge Builders. We'll sit down and we'll go through the many, many things in your new custom home.
So we're talking a lot about aging in place today and different aspects of your home that will really make it easier for you to live. Luke, what kind of a hallway width do we have here?
Well, this one says 4 foot, and I feel pretty comfortable in it.
Okay, so 4 foot's good. A lot of people do the 3'2", and that just makes it a little bit tight, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And one of the interesting things about designing for all really goes hand in hand with a lot of the trends that we're seeing today.
It does. Open concepts is a big part of aging in place. Barn doors, which give you a wider opening to get everything through, also part of aging in place.
Yeah, so now you mentioned the hallways being about 4 foot wide. Let's talk about doorways.
Yes.
Now this doorway behind us measures about 2'6", but what we're seeing for Design for All, having 3 foot wide doorways, plenty of space to get in and out.
There's so many good parts about those 3 foot doorways that help people out, the 4 foot wide hallways that help people out. There's just a lot of livability with those.
Right, now we're talking about a 3 foot door opening for a hinge door. Let's talk about some optional doors that you can put in that helps navigate.
One big one is pocket doors. Pocket doors, you don't have the swing goes back and forth. It doesn't take up the space in the room. It makes it easier access through there. Another one of those would be, we hit it earlier, the barn door. It gives you lots of space inside those. And also, you can almost dictate the width of that hall or that opening in the doorway.
Correct. Now, Tony, we talked about the door itself and the way it operates, but what about the handles? And again, this is one of those things that goes hand in hand with trends too.
It is, and the big rule of thumb is you need to be able to open it with your fist. If you can open up that door handle with your fist, closed fist, then it's going to be very easy for you to get in and out of the doorways.
Yeah, and we're talking interior or exterior doors.
Correct.
Now I have a stud tip here. Now, think of going down a hall. What if you were to line that hall all with grab bars? Now, we're not talking about the grab bars you'll see at like a hospital.
Right.
They have some very, very decorative, good-looking grab bars that make it look just like a design feature down that hallway.
That's the beautiful thing about it, living in today's world, is a lot of the things that they call handicap accessible or design for all will look like just a part of the home and another design piece of it. We have all types of options for these. If you just come into Granite Ridge Builders, we can show you all of them in one place.
I am begging for some help on this one here. LED lights are, of course, the big trend, and we like them in my house. They're energy savers, but I can never buy the right bulb. I try every time. My wife likes the old incandescent, a little bit, warm color, and every time I go, I buy the wrong one. What can I do to make sure I get the right one?
So it's really important to pay attention to that color temperature, which is a Kelvin, is how they're going to rate that on the box. And the typical traditional incandescent bulb is going to be 2700 Kelvin. It's going to be that nice warm light. That's really important when we're talking about universal design and aging in place, because you really want the right kind of light for any sort of setting. You don't want something that's going to be too harsh, but you also want it to be bright enough that you can really see what you're doing. So Kelvin temperature, lumen output, all of that's going to be very important when it comes to lighting in these homes.
And beyond that, there's some other features that we really want to highlight too, and that would be color contrast within rooms.
Absolutely. So color contrast in rooms, we're going to be talking about, something that is pleasing to the eye, something that is also different from your trim color, so you can really see where those special features and focal points are. Something like this nice neutral color is a little bit more pleasing when you walk into a room, or this nice blue here is really great. But if you're going to walk into a room with this red, it might be a little overpowering. So again, with these wall colors and these color contrasts, lighting is going to be very important on how we take care of these on the walls.
So two huge factors to consider with aging in place: color contrast and proper lighting.
JR, I have an example out here of a lot of popular selections that we are doing in our model homes and our homes for sale, that a lot of people are going with these kinds of selections here. So we're looking at the wood plank flooring, we're looking at countertops, and what we want to take into consideration with our models, especially in the flooring world, is what do people do most of the times? What are people wanting? And when we design our models, we're looking at that. And so probably 50% are going to have the plank flooring in the great room, kitchens, nooks, everywhere except for the bedrooms, because that's what people are asking for.
And when we're talking about design for all, Kayla, we're talking about aging in place, we're talking about children, we're talking about pets, and the most important topic that comes up is flooring. What types of materials to use and where to use them. So let's get started with the three most popular. I think planks is the first one that people want to talk about.
Absolutely. So we're talking about the luxury vinyl planks, and we're doing a lot of this kind of flooring, like I said, throughout the home. This is a really good choice for any sort of application because it is waterproof. It is something that is very, very durable. If you want something that is a little bit more budget conscious, you have the vinyl plank. This is an all glue down, which is a really great product. Getting away from those sheet vinyls where if there is a wheelchair or walkers, those could get snagged or tugged. So we're doing something here that's an individual planks that's all glued, so it's very secure and solid. So those are really good choices. Now, one thing to consider when we're looking at planks is if you have pets, if you are a little bit concerned about scratching, we might want to be looking at a laminate or a tile, but otherwise if you're looking for waterproof flooring, if you're looking for overall comfort, because this is a little bit warmer as well, the resilient planks are a great option.
Now you touched on tile just a little bit. We still see folks do this a lot in the bathrooms.
Absolutely.
But there's specific tiles that work better when we're talking aging in place than others, correct?
Yes, so we're definitely wanting to take a look at a tile that is bathroom rated or slip resistant rated, and that's what the designers here are trained and focused in, what items are going to be perfect for those sorts of applications. So we want something that has enough grip. Some of them have more texture than not, and so it's really important to take a look at for most of the house and especially in the bathrooms.
And there are still folks, Kayla, that like the comfort of carpet, especially in bedrooms, but it's very strategic on the type of carpet you should select, correct?
Yes, so we're going to take something into consideration that you're having that great pad, which we do as a standard already, something that is an 8-pound density, which really helps in those cases. You also want to be looking at something with probably a low pile, a little bit shorter, or even a sculpted carpet that has some more loops that makes it a little bit stronger. Another thing to consider with the carpet, depending on the situation, you might not want a pad at all. You might need to do a direct glue down, depending on what kind of activities are going to be going on in those areas. So all types of things to consider. Flooring is very, very important in the home, and we're here with all the options, as many as you can think of, and the designers are here to help you out.
Well, when it comes to designing your home, it's the little things that matter. And when we talk about design for all, it's very important, especially in the bathroom.
It sure is. Your safety, the convenience in that room that you're going to spend quite a bit of time in is really critical to think about. Did you know that 235,000 people fall according to the statistics, people that actually record that in the bathroom every year, and a good number of those end up in the hospital.
And part of that reason is the floor is wet, so it's easy to slip. Getting out of the tub, you can slip, maybe in the shower. So there's a lot of ways we can help your bathroom become a safer place for you.
Yeah, one of them would be the flooring area.
That's true. We do a lot of tile in our bathrooms, and you could put down some rugs. You want to be sure you have the right kind of rugs because those are also a tripping hazard.
And they also have some non-skid products.
Exactly. So that's one important factor. Another thing you could do in your bathroom is some grab bars. So you could install those by the toilet or in the shower. You could even brace for those. So when we're talking about design for all, you may think this does not pertain to me, but you never know in the future. So bracing is a good idea.
Right, and for a few $100s, you can put in grab bars that are not maybe invisible, but they're actually beautiful. It's a very beautiful.
You're correct.
Appointment. So.
And then the vanity, that's another important concern. A lot of times we're raising these vanities. So for a lot of people that does help. You don't have to bend over as far. Your faucets are important. Having a nice lever on those makes it easier to operate your hot and your cold.
And we've also had a few people ask us to lower the vanity. So that's a very important consideration when it comes to, we call it ergonomics, which is just making things more convenient and comfortable at that important area of the home.
Another important spot is your toilet, so your toilet height. We're raising a lot of the toilets. Rather than 15 inches, we're going up to 17 inches, so it's not as far up and down.
Right, we call them comfort toilets or smart toilets, and that 2 inches makes a lot of difference.
And then probably our favorite topic is the shower. We're doing a lot of tile showers, and a lot of these have a minimal or zero threshold. So they're very easy to get in and out of, and they're larger because you're gonna want about 7x4 to maneuver through that shower, and that's another important place for your plumbing fixtures.
Right, and at 7x4 you don't need a door, and sometimes that door is one of those things that your fingers are pinched or results in another accident.
And then we can do adjustable shower heads so that it's easier to maneuver. So some great ideas to make your bathroom more accessible. And again, this is invisible design, so a lot of people won't even know what you've done to your home. Kayla, I really like these selections. The contrast is great with the dark cabinet and the light countertop. You can see visually very well on that countertop.
I think so too.
I think I'm actually going to be able to buy the right light bulb when I go to the store this time. I'm not going to get the ones that are too bright.
Hey, by the way, at Granite Ridge Builders, we've actually compiled a list, I would call it a brochure, of all the many things to think about when we think about design for all, what we talked about today. Call us, write us, come in. We'd be glad to get you one of these lists.
You know, another thing that goes with that list is this booklet that we put together that has all the different heights and the measurements and how high you should have a countertop and how high maybe you need to raise it up just a little bit more. So if you have the bad back like Luke, you can get the laundry out of there without a problem.
And going along with those construction heights, I mean, it's just been fascinating to see how construction has changed in the past 20, 30 years. Those wider hallways, the open concepts, the hard surface that we're putting in, all of that feels more comfortable, but it's the little things that make a big difference for aging in place.
Yeah, and I think you can see after the show, there are so many things that we could have talked about that we didn't, unfortunately, but you can see there's so many things we'd love to incorporate, talk to you about, so please just give us a call. JR, would you close for us?
Absolutely. As always, guys, we want to thank you for spending part of your day with us. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do so well, please just pick up the phone, give us a call, visit the website below. Even better yet, come in any one of our front doors and let's sit down and talk about which of these items make sense in your new custom home.
Okay, I think we did good, guys.
I think I need to put this in my open house.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Everyone has them at
so
all
I like
times.
this one, but I think, you know,
Oh,
painted with maybe